Peace everybody, my name is Adisa Korij. This is my presentation in rough draft of my African ancestry DNA results. And yeah, I just wanted to share with you, again, it's a rough copy. I just want to put it out there, get some feedback, maybe get some people who are involved or are interested in getting involved. And again, I got to check with the Courage team, see what we want to do with it. But it's something I've been working on for the last couple months since I got my results. And I just need to put it out there. It's just part of my rites of passage journey in this ancestral research and in my Sankofa. Alright, I hope you enjoy. Peace and love. And yeah, it's about an hour. So I'll try to chop it up in a couple pieces. Take it in with your family, you know what I mean, on Kwanzaa Day if you can. And let me know what you think. I accept all responsibility for any mistakes. The resources that I used in this are to show a door and a window towards doing more further research. Now, I have been doing research for the last 15, 20 years, and so, I mean, I am able to just use some sources to pull together just to give you an idea. And again, rough edit, let me know what you think. Peace and love. Urge.
Let's just get right to it. In this test, I'm talking about my Y chromosome inheritance, and after followed by will be my mitochondria DNA inheritance. So in terms of my Y chromosome inheritance, so that's my paternal side, my dad, it's talking about the lineage and the blood of my dad's dad, going all the way back, that we share. Not that I don't have any other inheritance and ancestry from all of the partners of all those females, and then those people had two parents themselves, and then so this test may not be able to tell you all of that detail, but one thing it can surely do, like specifically with my Y-DNA test, it can tell me my dad. So I can tell you about me as an ancestor, as a male, way back during the time of like 300 BC to 16, 17, 1800s for a fact. So I can put myself walking around as that man. I don't have to worry about was I male or female, though I have ancestry and past lives of those females and mixed up in, you know what I mean, coming from this line in between that line, and it makes sense. I do have that. But one thing for sure that I can resonate whenever I want is that male, man going. Now here's a Y-DNA human migration, so haplogroups charts dealing with going back thousands of years ago. So meaning that if you look on the bottom, each color is represented by a specific letter. When you're dealing with your ancestry or with genetics, you're tied to a general haplogroup. It's like an umbrella group, and it's related to the migration patterns that they talk about in the real Eve and in the whole out of Africa theory. So um, if you're from the first wave, they call A, which they deal with Adam, not necessarily Adam in the Bible, but like Adam as in like Lucy, the real Eve, you know what I mean, or the first mother of the earth and stuff like that. And then it goes B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down. And this is my father, this is my grandfather, and that's me on the bottom, my father above, and my grandfather to my right. And this is my great grandfather. So in terms of knowing oral history and stuff like that, I only know up until this man. In terms of the males, yeah, I know, which I could share a little bit. Um, this man here was actually born in Cuba. This is a story, but he moved to Jamaica at age 9. But it doesn't truly make sense because he has a English last name. So it really doesn't make sense to me, but except for asking around and doing a research for a couple years, and it's highly possible that During those days, everybody was migrating back and forth, going to different parts of the Caribbean to work, and it's very common that they were from Jamaica or moved to Cuba or back and forth. The results, the first part of your test, my test that came back was the general haplogroup that I'm in. This can tell you if it's like big general areas, like continent areas or big groups of people. And mine came back haplogroup E, which is representative of sub-Saharan Africans, which dealing with this region right here that you see. Um, it's dealing with the orange arrows. So it's starting where E starts. And then as you can see, there's different branches. One went a little north, one went a little northwest. The other went straight across West Africa, and the others went straight down from west, then straight down to south. And that matches, and that's dealing with founding of like all these kingdoms that you see here, from Mali to Ghana to uh, Songhai to the Hosa to the Wolof, the Fulani, Benin, Jola Jola Kingdom, the Nok, Yoruba, Igbo, and the list goes on. The Empire of Kenem. So anyway, in Congo and Zulu, Zimbabwe, Luanda, all these kingdoms are, a lot of them sprang up from this era of migrating out from Nubia, and I don't know, leaving Nubia for reasons that correspond to when you study the history of ancient Egypt. So it was one of those. And then when you're dealing with the linguistic chart, it matches all the same. The language groups follow the same pattern and everything. It's just everything makes sense. So I'm dealing with the haplogroup E as my ancestral male line, West Africa. See it highlighted right there. As here it's talking about, there's 18 clusters that describe um, now within the haplogroup. This is now getting a little bit deeper and to find out, which sub haplogroup you're involved in, and that usually comes to the big umbrella tribe that your tribe is from, and then there's subgroups of your tribe. So we just try to be careful that some of these tests, when they send you back, they'll tell you the haplogroup and then they'll tell you um, the breakdown after that. However, what they can't explain are sub tribes, and that has to do, you have to match that with history to know. Make sure that you're not making a mistake. So you gotta, even if you go through the histories of the transatlantic slave trade and they give you maps, they give you statistics, which you'll see some later, and you just have to kind of place yourself when you find the results in that area, and then you can start digging deeper. So the results of us three, where we come from, the Akan people. That's these people right here. If you don't know, here's the results right here. If you don't know, these are the people that are generally, they're based around, you see them down in mid, south, west Africa, if that makes sense. Where it's like half of Ghana and a quarter of Cote d'Ivoire. It's present day Ghana and Ivory Coast. You can see the Ivory Coast region where the Akan dominate. And then here's Akanland in where's Ghana today. They're famous for the Adinkra symbols that you see today in the diaspora throughout. And they're, symbols with meanings. It's like the hieroglyphs. And very popular for that. And they are the ones responsible for producing the Sankofa concept, going back to go forward, and hence the spirit of this presentation. So, no coincidence, right? Also, too, what the Akan are famous for are producing kente cloth. This is this fabric. It's famous throughout the diaspora as well, and it actually has its roots in the Mali kingdom. So they're known to come from the Mali kingdom. This is them. So, all West Africans are cousins anyway, and what they're most popular for is the land and the gold. Gold, 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 and more gold, and more gold, till this is how we rock it. That's my ancestors. And, you know, they're still living it today, and they're famous for being warriors. I mean, imagine all that. Before, here's the stools. They're famous throughout all of West Africa, but popular amongst the Akan, showing their relativity. And here's around the 13th century AD, the Akan peoples lived like this. This is the type of housing they had. Um, Here's a sketch of an Akan warrior, 15th or 16th century. They're famous for being warriors. So, because of having all that gold, I could assume that there's a lot of money going on, and when there's a lot of money, there's possible quote criminal activity, theft, and all kind of stuff, bandits and stuff going on. So there's need to protect it. There's wars, people trying to steal and overtake other kingdoms to inherit money, wealth, all stuff. So out of the Akan people, there's two sub tribes that are majorly known. One is the Ashanti that rose up from amongst the Akan, and then there's the Fanti. So the Ashanti, which became known as the Ashanti Kingdom, got popular by taking over um, like neighboring tribes and you know creating prisoners of wars and slaves and became a mighty kingdom. Then along the coast, there's the Fantis who resisted them, and then they also too off of the gold and off of slave trade within and without. Now there's just this fight, plus other states, people fighting each other, everything, and this is why these people became very fierce warriors, known warriors throughout the world. Just some more images. There's a chief or some type of leader, just to show like the gold and how they do it. Golden stool, and there's a story behind that too. Sankofa and other symbols. Even female warriors. There's a big history about Ya Santewa and the war between the British and the Ashanti. And she's popular in that. She actually, for those who don't know, she actually chose to fight when the men were feeling defeated. She rallied them up and said, "Yo, we women will go out on the field if you're tired. Let's go." And then the men were like, "Yeah, all right." And then they went too. So she's famous for that. And now, if you break it down, um, where do we come from? They suggest of the Akan, they suggest the Fanti. However, I have a problem with them knowing sub tribes. It's known misunderstanding. Um, I'm sure. Or if they are exact on and it's like they know the difference between the Fanti and the Ashanti, which I don't think you can know genetically, um, then they're right. But other than that, if not, you can only really go with the major tribe, and it could be anything. So many things happened during that time, and it could have happened during the wars with each other, during the wars with European colonizers. It could have been wars with other tribes from different places. Who knows? And anyway, now dealing with the other tribe, now the Fanti, who more along the coastline. And once you start getting into the Fanti's history, you start to understand and see, oh, okay, how things could have happened. So here's a map showing what the British call the Gold Coast is actually Fanti land. And on the interior is actually the land the Ashantis. So what it was is when the Dutch, British, Portuguese, Spanish, all the European slave colonizing countries came in, they had to fight against the Fantis first. Fantis resisting, and then through those years, what happens is some of the Fantis start becoming businessmen, and then start making deals, and slowly start to creep their way in, and the Fantis start you know profiting off of being a middleman now to the people from the interior who are rising up and becoming strong. So the people on the coast see that these people on the interior are strong. However, they already have their big independence. So there's conflicts of interest going on. So the British start to side with the Fantis, and the Dutch sided with the Ashantis. Now, this is more than halfway through the whole transatlantic slave trade. So a lot of the people who have came through the transatlantic slave trade to the New World um, came before there was big distinctions of tribes between Ashanti and Fanti. There probably most likely wasn't even such thing. And until unless you came around the late 1800s and after, during, and from those wars, particularly fighting the British and the Dutch. So anyway, the Fanti were sided with the British, and the Dutch were sided with the Ashantis, and the British and the Fantis. Um, the British helped the Fantis defeat the Ashantis in terms of expanding the empire and taking them over. But then what happened was the British turned around and sold out the Fantis and backstabbed them, and then the Fantis became subjects after 1874. Now, then after now having subjects of the Fantis, they have control of them, and then the British and the Fantis defeated the Dutch, and then after defeated the Ashanti Empire in 1901, then it became a British Empire. So you can see the fight and how the British came in and how they used two people who are same brothers against each other. Now, is it legitimate that it happened? It might have been natural, but this is it's a more clear understanding to me of the possibilities of the various things that could have happened. The thing about this Ashanti people, the Akan people, is that um, they all share the same traditions and stuff. So the Fanti now on the coast, which this test that I took is suggesting that my father's 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 was a Fanti man. Um, the Fanti speak a Twi language. It's a branch off of tree. It's tree in itself. So almost all of it is the same. It's like the difference between Spanish and Portuguese. They were famous for what was called asafo. These are warrior groups. There's a bunch of them, which in each state or each sub tribe, there's a couple of them, and they only get together for war. Other than that, they're like autonomous, and it derives from the word sa and lo, meaning war people or the people's army. So um, it's famously known throughout Akan land. Every region has their own asafos, and these are warrior clans, and there's all the all the children and the males are initiated into the asafo, and there's a book on it called the Asafo Warrior Guide to Manhood, and check that out. Explains the Asafo traditions and society and how it works into society. It's a big part of society. It's just as equal as university. It is part of university, even more so, to be honest with you. And big major